Welcome. If you've seen my videos before, you know how much I talk about the power of evangelists, how it's important to find evangelists for your company. Now, I know you may be saying, hey, no one else is talking about this. I'm just going to check out now. But stay with me. This is important. And to highlight that, I'm going to share two examples that shows the power of evangelists, share the three traits that a great evangelist has, and then share three things your company can do to help find evangelists. So stay tuned. As I said, I know most people don't talk about the power of evangelists, the power that finding evangelists for your company can have. But I've seen firsthand throughout my career the power that evangelists can have in driving growth for a company. For instance, I led marketing at Pentagon Federal Credit Union, PenFed, from 2006 to 2012, so way back when. And PenFed was and is the second largest federal credit union. Even though it's a second largest federal credit union, it's actually fairly small compared to the big players, the big banks, the big financial institutions. But we're still competing for the same prospects for cards and mortgages, auto loans, etc. One thing to know about PenFed back then was that we were extremely cheap. I mean, we were frugal. If you looked up cheap in a dictionary, you would see a picture of PenFed. In fact, some of the most painful experiences of my career was preparing for our annual budget. We had to build for our budget from scratch, bottom up, and then present it to the executive leadership team and the CEO. And the CEO's default position on any expenditure was no. This wasn't a gentle no, like maybe we'll consider it next year. I mean, his was a hard no. I mean, it could be very awkward at times, honestly. In fact, Neethi Patel and I still joke to this day about some of the awkward meetings that were had around budget time. So needless to say, PenFed's marketing budget was like a rounding error compared to the big banks' marketing budgets. I mean, it was tiny. So we had to be creative, we had to be innovative, we had to be scrappy in order to grow the business. But there was one huge benefit to the fact that we were so frugal, and that is we poured all of our savings into making great products. I mean, we had the lowest mortgage rates, the best saving rates, the highest reward credit cards. I mean, our products were astounding. I mean, they were the best, bar none. In fact, our credit cards were so good, they attracted the attention of the gentleman who started cardratings.com, Curtis Arnold. And now at the time, there were other credit card review sites, but most of those were focused on raising revenue through affiliate marketing. And so they would get paid for every click on the credit card on their website. But Curtis wasn't like that. Card Ratings wasn't like that. It was focused on really finding the best credit card for people. I mean, that was his mission and that was his vision when he started cardratings.com. So he was really looking for the best card for people. And so it was a great fit with PenFed because we had the best products and we were really serious about treating our members well and putting them first. And so it was easy for Curtis to refer people to PenFed because he knew we had great products and that we're going to treat people right. But where the real power of evangelism came in was through his relationships with financial reporters. So when a reporter wanted to write an article about the best credit cards, they would reach out to Curtis for suggestions, and he would offer up our cards. And I forget the first publication we appeared in. It might have been in the USA Today or Forbes. But after the first article about our credit cards, we saw a spike in our credit card applications. And then it happened again. And what I came to realize is that a lot of these reporters would just copy each other. So they would see this article about the best credit cards, and then they would write an article in their publication about the best credit cards. So through Curtis's efforts and the fact that these reporters were copying each other, we got a ton of earned media. I mean, our earned media punched so far above our weight. I'd hold up what we got against even the largest financial institutions. I mean, before I left, we were mentioned in the USA Today, Money Magazine, Kiplinger's, Fortune, Forbes, the New York Times, Washington Post, the Today Show. I mean, the list just went on and on. And so through this relationship, we're able to get millions of dollars in earned media. And that's the power of evangelism. That someone spoke on our behalf because we had great products and we were able to drive this earned media. And it could just be straight through applications. I mean, if he had the audience for it, it could be, more direct than just the earned media. But that's the power of evangelism. Curtis had all the traits of a great evangelist. One is that he believed in our products. I mean, he truly believed we had the best products and that we treat members well. Two, he was a trusted and had authority within the industry because of the mission of card ratings was to find the best credit cards for people and not just to make money. People trusted him. And three, he had an audience through cardratings.com. And so those are the three things that make a great evangelist. Now, you may be saying, like, that's great for financial services, or maybe it's great for consumer goods, but that wouldn't work in B2B. Well, that's not true. Take a look at these posts by Mark Hosaglow. So look at this first post from Mark. He says, when I resigned as CRO at Catalyst, I got overrun by 250 hot leads who wanted to hire me, consult, do fractional work, and advise. I quickly became the rep who wasn't following up with his leads the right way. I mean, that's pretty good. It's a pretty good start to your business, Mark. Congratulations. Hopefully that's held up for you. He says, I finally bought HubSpot. Off the bat, impressed. After 3 weeks, not so much. The easy solution quickly became another labyrinth of gated functionality, hitting limits for basic stuff, needing to be a PhD to find a specific setting, endless marketing emails and expansion calls. It was impossible to hit the easy button. So then he goes through his research process. He considered Salesforce. He says, no way that's easier. Hire a consultant. No, use a spreadsheet. And he says it's not 1994, so that's not an option. So he uses ChatGPT to do some research, makes a few calls, and finally settles on NetHunt CRM. And he says that it's the simplicity and the functionality combined that really sold him. And so he's happy with this product. And so he shared this post about NetHunt. And it seems completely organic. It doesn't seem like he's trying to sell NetHunt. He's just speaking about his experience. So, I mean, you might be like, hey, that's great that he's mentioning it. But later he posts about what the results were. So 2 weeks later, he does a follow-up post. He says, if I mention a product in a post, a couple of people will tell me they checked it out. I mentioned NetHunt CRM 2 weeks ago, and they just told me they got 200 plus of signups from my post. What changed? And so I would almost guarantee that 200 plus signups is significant for NetHunt. And they got that from Mark evangelizing for them. I mean, he may not have thought of it in those terms, but he shared his experience of finding NetHunt and using NetHunt, and that drove 200 plus signups. I mean, it must have been significant for them because they went back out to Mark and talked to him about the fact that they got these 200 plus signups. And Mark, again, like, he probably doesn't think of himself as an evangelist, but he has the three traits of an evangelist. Is one is that he's obviously believes in this product at some level. I mean, he did research, he tried HubSpot, he thought about Salesforce, he signed up for NetHunt and gave feedback to his audience in terms of what the experience was like. Two, he has authority in the space and he's trusted. I mean, I don't know Mark personally, but he gets a lot of engagement on his posts. People know who he is. People obviously trust him at some level. And three, he does have an audience. He has 56,000 plus followers who are that he's speaking to. So the three traits of an evangelist, and he has those in spades, and you can see the effects of it. So this does work in B2B SaaS too. And this is one example, but if you look for it on LinkedIn, you'll see this all the time. You'll see people talking about the products they use and speaking to their audience. So this works in B2B SaaS as well. So finding evangelists is important. It was important to PenFed. It was important to NetHunt. I mean, it's just clear that there is a huge potential for growth here. I mean, even if people aren't talking about it frequently, you can see the potential for growth. So as I mentioned, the three traits for a great evangelist are: one is that they actually sincerely believe in your product. I mean, this isn't just influencer marketing. These are people who actually organically believe and talk about the product. Two is that they're trusted and have authority. That's a critical factor here because when they speak to their audience, they need to be trusted. And three, they have an audience. I wouldn't worry so much about the audience size. I mean, think about, say, a Reddit forum on cybersecurity. If there's a member of that forum who is consistently contributing and sharing, even if that forum only had 100 other cybersecurity specialists on there, but they've built up trust with this person, and this person refers a takedown product, for instance, people are going to listen and hear what this person says. So it's not even so much the size of the audience, it's the fact that they develop trust. And speaking to 100 people from someone who's trusted is really powerful. I mean, obviously it's better if it's bigger and people trust them, but I wouldn't worry so much about the size of the audience, just the fact that they believe in your product, they're trusted, and they have an audience to speak to. So we've seen the power of evangelism, and we talked about the traits of a great evangelist. But then how do you actually go out and build these relationships? How do you find them? Well, the first thing is, and I say this all the time, so it's going to sound like I'm a broken record, is you have to have a great differentiated product. No one is going to evangelize for a product that's the same as the leading brand. They're just not going to do it. There's no reason to do it. You have to have a much better product that's differentiated. Just like Mark was saying, his focus was on the fact that it was so simple and it has the functionality that he needs. That's why he was willing to use the product and willing to speak about it, because it was different and really strong. The next thing is you need to make sure that you are trusted. I mean, Mark's not going to waste his capital on referring someone who isn't trusted. I mean, I don't know what happened between Hunt and him. I don't know what the interactions were, but obviously he trusted them at some level. The experience was good enough at some level that he was willing to refer his audience to them. And then the third thing is making sure that you build relationships. So with Curtis Arnold, the biggest role I had is that I built that relationship with him. I mean, I'd like to say I was some sort of PR expert and was able to drive all this earned media through my PR expertise. But really my contribution was just maintaining the relationship with Curtis, making sure he had the information he needed, keeping him up to date and changes. And so building those relationships is a third thing. So if you want to create relationships with evangelists, this isn't easy. I mean, it's quite hard, but it is simple. A great differentiated product, absolutely critical. 2, that you have trust. 3, that you build relationships. And the last point I want to raise on this is that those 3 things for building relationships with evangelists are 3 of the critical components just growing your company, period. So if you don't have evangelists, if you don't have people speaking for you, it's likely that you're falling short on one of those 3 critical components. Your product's not strong enough. It's not differentiated enough. You're not trusted. I mean, maybe your sales and marketing's too aggressive. Maybe it's too cheap. Maybe it's not adding value, so you're not trusted enough, or you're not putting the time into building relationships. So the question you need to ask yourself is, if you don't have evangelists, why not? Which of those 3 areas is your company not strong enough in? And make sure you address that. So it's not just the power of evangelism to grow your business. It also serves as a great yardstick to understand if you're doing what's necessary to build your business effectively.